Welcome everyone to my Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Iron Man collection as of 2021. It's the beginning of the new year, so I thought it's time to show you another collection video, and none other than the main star of the MCU, Tony Stark Iron Man, as I probably have the most of him in my action figure collection. And you got to give Bandai Tamashii Nations credit for being so consistent in making their Marvel Cinematic Universe characters. They've given us looks of him in almost all the films, from the first one in 2008 all the way to Avengers Endgame in 2019. And of course, after this video, I'll probably do more collection videos showing you other figures from the line. But I think the best way is to start off with Iron Man. These figures were picked up at that time as a new release or re-release, because the first ones were actually released in 2013, before I started collecting action figures, which was under the title Iron Man 2. That was the first line they released. And of course, as the movies came out and they grew in popularity, they started to bring out more and more figures from older films as well. So I think the best way would be to start off by showing you the figures in the order of the MCU release, which is easier to remember. And of course, that is none other than Iron Man 1, the 2008 movie, the one that kicked things off for the MCU. And I do have the Tony Stark figure, which was only released last year, a few months before Christmas. And this is known as the Birth of Iron Man series. And what I like about this figure is very simple, but it just works. Just a man in a suit, but when you have him surrounded by the Hall of Armors, I think it looks fantastic. And I think the head sculpt is pretty good as well, whether he's wearing the sunglasses or without. And I feel that Tony Stark wore a suit in almost every MCU movie apart from Infinity War, correct me if I'm wrong. And that is why this one will probably go well with any figure line in your MCU. So of course you can go into details and say that it's not very movie accurate. He had patterns on his tie and maybe the blazer, but again, they probably didn't want to be so focused on that. They just wanted to give us a Tony Stark in a suit, which then allows us to put him into other lines. And of course, this is not the only thing that comes with the figure. You do get a alternate body, which is the one with the vest to look like he's building the Mark 1 with very cool accessories. So I do really like this. So I think it's a good start in terms of, if you're collecting Iron Man figures, is to have one in a suit. Which then brings us on to another figure from the first movie, which is the first armor known as the Mark 1. And this one is very iconic again, as it's his first armor built in the cave to fight the terrorists. And I just like the look and sculpt of this one. It looks very, very realistic in terms of the steel, and it looks pretty solid and heavy. Of course, it's just made out of plastic, but it actually looks very realistic in terms of the armors. And as it's all silver, it's pretty unique as well. You can see all the coding and then all the text printed on. So very movie accurate. And also you get the alternate eyes, which allows him to, of course, wear the armor and then without it as well. So this one does come with a bunch of flame effects as well. So that's pretty cool. So I think for Mark 1, I think, again, just like the suit of Tony Stark, it's pretty important you do have these two in your collection if you want to begin with. And Hasbro Marvel Legends do have a box set of these two, which I also have. That is a really, really cool figure. But in terms of quality and probably sculpt articulation, the Tamashii Nation ones do win. So then, of course, we then move on to Mark 2, which is the all silver armor. I don't have that one. That one's pretty rare now. So if I see it, maybe I will pick it up depending on the price. And then from the first movie as well, we do get the 2008 Iron Man Mark III. And this one, again, is very iconic because it's the first red and gold Iron Man in the MCU. It's pretty simple, but again, if you are collecting Iron Man figures, I think you gotta have a Mark III in your collection. Whether it's the Tamashii Nations or the Hasbro or what other company have made the Iron Man 3, I think you gotta have it. This one does come with a bunch of flame effects and blaster effects, which is pretty standard for Tamashii Nations. And this figure was actually a re-release. I think it's a re-release, but I'm not too sure. Maybe they only released it recently, I don't know. But they actually did bring out a Birth of Iron Man series version, which I didn't get in the new color wave. I do like it in this burgundy. It's more of the classic colors. So yeah, this is the Iron Man Mark III. For some people, of course, you do want a Tony Stark head sculpt. I guess I'll probably use the one from the Tony Stark suited figure. And then Mark IV came along. That one I'm missing. It did come with a Tony Stark head sculpt, which is very cool. Haven't really seen that around. I guess you can still get it, but I'm not too desperate for that one. Then was the Mark V from Iron Man 2. And this one was sort of the red and silver color. It is pretty different from any of his other armors. Again, I haven't seen that around too much. The Mark VI, again, was from Iron Man 2. And that one I haven't got and I haven't seen around yet. It is the one with the triangle reactor, which is pretty unique. But I'm very happy that Tamashii Nations just made an announcement in 2021. They are releasing a battle damage version. So I'll probably just wait and get that one. And then we then move on to Mark VII, which is from the first Avengers movie. Again, very iconic, because if you're collecting the Avengers team for your SH Figuarts, you pretty much got to have the Mark VII in it. And what I like about this figure in particular is just the way you can move the back to have all these flight poses. So if you want a Iron Man figure for flights, this is probably the best one. It is, of course, from that scene in New York when the rest of the team are with him and he's wearing the Mark VII. And again, just like the Mark III, this was actually re-released under the Birth of Iron Man series in a new color wave. But I didn't see the need to get that one as I already have this version. So yeah, that's the Mark VII. It does come with a bunch of accessories, but there is no Tony Stark head sculpt, which I probably wish they did do, since they haven't really given us one from his earlier days in Avengers. So Mark VII, and then we move on to the Mark 42, which is actually from Iron Man 3, and it's the all gold and parts red. This is one of my favorite Tony Stark Iron Man armors in terms of the color, because it's so different. I actually did enjoy the Iron Man 3 movie. In terms of the quality, I must admit they didn't actually build this one as nice as the others. For some reason, the gold just doesn't look metallic enough. It just looks too plasticky. And I think the reds, I read some reviews, a lot of people complained that it started to rub off. I think in my one, there are some bits that are starting to turn pink. I don't know if it's just the lighting and the sunshine that's doing the damage, but it's happening to my one as well. So yeah, it's probably not the best SH Figuarts out there, but of course I'm glad I have it because it's the Mark 42. And then of course from Iron Man 3, they did give us the Tony Stark figure, which a lot of people do like. And even to this day, even though they've released so many Tony Stark face sculpts, people actually say this one's the best one, and it's hard to argue that. I do like this look of Tony Stark, of course, in the lab in Iron Man 3, and you can actually swap out the arms and legs for the armored parts, which is pretty cool in that scene when he's wearing the armors as it's flying into him. Some of the parts are a bit loose because it's, of course, not really connected. You can swap them out for the original version. So that's the only downside. This was a re-release, by the way, as the original one actually came with a base. I didn't get that one as I didn't see the need for it. So that's the first Tony Stark figure we actually got. And then, of course, we move on to Mark 43, which was the first one in Age of Ultron. That one I'm actually still missing. I have seen it around. I just haven't really had the urge to pick it up, as it's probably not the most iconic, as he wore the Mark 45 later on towards the end battle of Age of Ultron. And this one I again do like. For some reason the colors really pop out in this figure, and again you get the usual blaster effects for the hands and the legs. And yeah, for Age of Ultron, I guess you gotta have it because I do have the rest of the Avengers from that line. So the Mark 45 is probably more important than the Mark 43, so you gotta get it. And this one, of course, didn't come with a Tony Stark head sculpt either, which some people will probably be disappointed again. But you're gonna have to use either the Iron Man 3 version or some of his later ones. So that's the Mark 45, which I feel that you should get if you have the other Avengers from the Age of Ultron line. I actually did skip the Mark 44, which is actually the Hulk Buster. That one I do want, obviously, but it is pretty rare now and haven't seen it around yet. Maybe I'll end up getting that one or getting a Hasbro or Marvel Select version. So after Mark 45, of course, it was the Mark 46. And this one is from Civil War, Captain America 3. This one I actually really like the build of it because it's so bulky, which is actually very movie accurate. I remember Tony Stark looked pretty bulked up in that scene, in that fight with his fellow Avengers. The shoulders are a lot higher. I just wish they included like a battle damaged version, or maybe like a battle damaged head sculpt of Tony Stark, because I think that's pretty memorable when he had those fight scenes, either with the team or with Captain America at the end. So hopefully they'll do like a re-release. This was actually picked up only recently by me, and this was actually a figure that's never been re-released. So if you do see it, I'll probably suggest getting it. I do have the Captain America Civil War version, so pretty good to have them paired up together. So that's the Mark 46 from Civil War. And then we move on to the Mark 47, which was actually the one that came in the Spider-Man Homecoming 2-pack, which of course Tony Stark featured in the Spider-Man movie. That one I haven't picked up and probably don't plan to, really, to be honest, because he only featured a bit in the film. And I feel that the box set is probably not worth getting, since I think that the Spider-Man figure I can probably get elsewhere. Then we of course move on to Mark 50, and they released a Infinity War version as well as a second Infinity War version under the Nano Weapon Set title. But I went on to buy the Nano Weapon Set 2, which was under the title Avengers Endgame. And this is nanotech, as Tony Stark introduced it to Doctor Strange and Hulk. This one is probably one of the most worth figures, I'll say, because you get so many accessories. This one I'm currently using the launchers, and you can see it makes a great display. And if you have the Thanos Infinity War figure, I think you should have at least one of the Iron Man Mark 50s in your collection, which I think looks fantastic. So from Infinity War. And then we can start moving on to Avengers Endgame, which is the Mark 85. This is the original version. I did do a comparison with all the Mark 85, so you can see it after this video. I'll put the link in the description below. This was the first release when the film was still being shown in the cinemas. I'm currently using it with the Final Battle shield because it kind of recreates that scene from when Hulk was about to use the Nano Gauntlet. So yeah, this is the Mark 85, the original version. Some people are disappointed with this figure as it didn't include any Tony Stark head sculpt or Nano Gauntlet or any of the weapons. It's pretty much the Mark 85 with the blaster effects. So that's the first version. And then of course, Tamashii Nations decided to bring out the Final Battle editions. And look at this display. This is one of the best figure displays I have for the MCU. Look at Iron Man in that battle damaged kind of look. It's the final battle scene when he's using all the blaster effects he can. And of course, if you have the rescue figure, you can place it side by side. Very, very good figure. It does come with a Tony Stark head sculpt as well. The only disappointing thing again is that some people feel that they should have given us the Nano Gauntlet in this one since it's called the Final Battle. And some people have spent money on this version and the original and still didn't get that final look. But in terms of the quality display, this is probably one of the best out there. If you're looking to pick up maybe just one Iron Man figure in your budget, this one might be it. And then we can move on to the final one, and that is the Mark 85, the Iron Man edition, which is of course probably the most iconic look in the MCU. It does come with the Nano Gauntlet this time, the battle damaged armor, a very good Tony Stark head sculpt with the blood this time, which is the first time they've done for a MCU SH Figuarts. And it does come with a base, and if you have the Final Battle figures of Captain America, Spider-Man, Thanos, you gotta have this one in your line. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up my Iron Man collection for SH Figuarts. So if you want to see the full list of every single Iron Man SH Figuarts released in 2013 to 2020, you can hit the link in the description below. I will put it there. As for more collection videos, I will do them in the future. Thanks for watching and hope to see you soon.